Hey, Kris back with another Through the Prism of Chrism videocast. We've been talking for a couple of weeks on the subject of revival. Today I want to talk about chasing legion from the region. Remember in Mark chapter 5 where Jesus went into the land of Gadara and cast spirits out of a madman, insane maniac, and the devil inside of him said, "My name is Legion." Well, he was the overlord or the main principality, I believe, in that land, and Jesus had to deal with that spirit before revival could come to Gadara. Now, Mario Murillo said that revival is the defeating of the local demonic authority by prayer. And if you've got any spiritual sensitivity about you, you can sense what's in the heavenly realm. I flew into Port-au-Prince, Haiti, and it was like I could feel tentacles of voodooism in the skies as we're flying into the airport. Same way in Mumbai, India. You can sense the Hinduism in Las Vegas. There's so much prostitution and gambling spirits. You can sense it. So revival means we have to chase legion from the region. I've got 4 points I want to share today. First of all, the church's air force is its prayer force. In any military campaign, we always send in the air force first and clear the heavenlies. Well, Ephesians 6 and 12 talks about spiritual hosts in the heavenly realm. You have to deal with that. Chuck Horner was our general over the air force aspect in Desert Storm, and he said when we sent our first sorties in, within 15 minutes we knew that the battle was won. Why is that? Because Saddam Hussein's royal guard was already in retreat. You may not be able to see it, friend, but when you join with other believers in prayer, the enemy instantly goes in retreat because our air force is our prayer force. Number two, there's always a battle before the battle. As Jesus was en route to Gadara to cast those spirits out, a freak storm occurred on the water. Now, I don't believe it was a coincidence. Satan is the prince of the power of the air, and I believe he provoked that storm to try to keep Jesus from getting to the other side so that he could defeat that spiritual power. You know, anytime you feel like God's about to do something great and then all of a sudden there's huge hindrances, it's usually the battle before the battle. Jesus stood at the bow of the ship, said, "Peace, be still," and he stilled the storm, and then he's going to go into the mainland and still the storm in that maniac because he's going to be clothed in his right mind and at the feet of Jesus. There's always a battle before the battle. Number three, the enemy does not voluntarily relinquish territory. It has to be seized from him. In Matthew 11 and verse 12 it says, "The kingdom of heaven suffers violence, and the violent take it by force." Most new versions use the word seized. NIV says we're raiding it. In other words, when churches start to join together in prayer, we're literally raiding the enemy's territory. You know, Joshua had the people march round about the walls of Jericho. That was the stronghold. And as they praised God, the walls fell flat. And then Joshua 6 and verse 20 says they took the city. Pastors, do you want to take your city? Well, the devil's not going to relinquish territory until you vanquish him. And then number four, true God chasers are first devil chasers. What do you mean? We chase God in worship, but we chase off the enemy in warfare. Jesus did that in Gadara. Three things happened. Number one, you have to expose the enemy. Mark 5 and verse 9, he said, "What is your name?" And this spirit said, "My name is Legion, for we are many." Notice this. My name, that's individual. And we are many, that's corporate. In other words, there was one main principality that drew a host of cohorts round about him. You know, it's like a magnet. A magnet draws screws and nails and staples and steel shavings. When there's a main spiritual power, it'll draw other demonic power, so you've got to expose it. Second, you have to oppose it. James 4 and 7, resist the devil and he'll flee from you. Put up a frontal assault against the enemy. Expose him, oppose him, and then finally depose him. How do you do that? Matthew 17 and 21 says, "This kind goes not out but by prayer and fasting." And Luke chapter 10, Jesus gave his disciples to go forth and cast out devils and heal the sick. And then he made this statement, "I beheld Satan as lightning fall from the heaven." In other words, the omniscient eyes of Jesus could see Satan's kingdom being overthrown as God's people went forth in authority. He can do the same for us today. We can chase legion from the region, but we've got to join together in prayer. I'm Kris. I'm hoping you're enjoying this series. If you like, share this with a friend, share it with your pastor friends. And let's have a move of God in America and around the world. I'll see you tomorrow with more on Through the Prism of Chrism.